Gen Z's America. I'm your hostess, Crazy Aunt Nay. This is our very first episode, and I'm so excited to launch it on the 4th of July. The episode is called What is America? You will hear from a compilation of Gen Zs on their thoughts about America and some of the cultural issues facing us in America today. I conducted 2 separate interviews in different locations. You'll meet Chia and Combo in one, and you'll meet Craig, Tristan, and Taylor in the other. We will be launching one episode every week, and then we will have a live Q&A session prior to starting the next season. I hope to hear from you. As a general disclaimer for season 1, I'm not a professional film or video person. As such, I apologize in advance if there are crooked or blurry shots from time to time. I'm learning and continue to improve. If you all love and support the show, maybe I'd be able to afford someone who knows a lot more about all of that than I do. Until then, I thank you for your grace, and I hope you enjoy watching the show as much as we've enjoyed making it. So here we go with What is America? Hello, and welcome to Gen Z's America. I'm your hostess, Crazy Aunt Nay. In this episode, we're going to explore what is America.
In my eyes, America is a giant melting pot of cultures. What I think America should be, and always should have been, everyone getting along, saying their differences, and learning how to live together.
Yeah.
But nowadays, that's not how it is at all.
It's a melting pot of arguments.
I actually really agree with Craig on this. I was going to say the exact same thing. It's a melting pot of cultures. You have all these cultures from all across the world, right? And all those cultures kind of come here, and everything. And the beautiful thing is that it's a shared culture, right? People can all enjoy them together.
Nobody else has
right?
exclusive
in
rights.
communion. I feel like the mainstream media and just the direction that society is pushing towards is doing everything to make these cultures not like shareable. They're trying to say, oh, this culture's just theirs and you can't have it, right? Whereas they're meant to be shared and put together, right? And you know, they're meant to be like food, dye, and water, right? Not oil and vinegar.
That's a very good analogy.
Yeah.
What about you, Taylor?
For me, when I think of America, I think of the phrase dangerous freedom. Because we live in a culture, especially nowadays, and I had a friend like that. I still care about him greatly. But I remember he told me that he would sacrifice his freedom for safety, for security. As long as I could be safer, I'll give up my ability to keep my privacy or yeah, I know.
I can't believe someone said that out loud. I'm sorry.
But for a lot of people, that's what it is. Like, they don't care if they have to give something up as long as they feel safer. And that's how these totalitarian regimes happen. You know, it's people that don't mind giving up certain things because they'll feel safer or more secure. You know? I don't mind giving up my guns as long as it gets guns off the street, and if you want to replace it with a soldier on every corner, if it makes it safer, that's fine if they kick down my door every Tuesday to do random inspections of my home and make sure there's nothing unsavory.
Repeating history.
And so that's the best way I can describe America is dangerous freedom. You have the freedom to do whatever you want here, but your protection is also in your own hands. You need to be able to, like, I think America bred the best type of people, and there's a reason it became the strongest country on the planet. It's because the people that came out of this country were fighters and were hungry for the future.
Yep.
And it's in countries like this where you cultivate the type of person that changes timelines. I mean,
I agree.
When I thought about this question, I came up with America is a republic, not a democracy.
True.
And it's very unique. Our particular federalist republic type of government is unique in the world and history. It's never been done before, and it's never been done since. And that's very important, I think, for us to fight to keep if we want to keep our freedoms and self-governance and the benefits that come with that. So we want to talk about what is America. That's a pretty broad term, and before we get going on anything else, I want to hear from the two of you. So who wants to go first? You can tell me what you think America is.
I guess I will. I mean,
Okay.
right now it's pretty fucking stupid.
In what sense?
There's a lot of taxes, and people are brainwashed a lot of the time into thinking things are right when they're not. And social media makes people think the wrong things.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll ask you more questions in a minute. You go first. What do you think?
So America, obviously a land of the free, cool and all. And yeah, now it is, we're at a pretty weird point in America. It's election year. So, you know, things are going to get very tense. You know, everyone's trying to just be on one side and not the other. There's no like middle ground for some reason. But at the same time, I think there's a silent majority of people who aren't just like trying to tear each other down or like brainwash the other things. And currently America's in a little shaky situation, but I'd still rather be here than anywhere else.
Yeah.
Amen.
Good way to put it.
1000%.
Absolutely.
Tristan and I,
Right?
our family travels the world a lot, and we visit a lot of different countries. And every single time we go there, and we're
We
there
miss
for a long
America.
period of time, we miss America. Like we miss the sprawling highways. We miss being able to go to any corner and
There's
have
nothing like this place. Like
this country doesn't exist anywhere else.
yeah, like
Yeah.
in Italy, the cars are so small. I bang my head on every door sill. There's this guy on TikTok or Instagram that really portrays this.
Oh, the British dude.
The British dude.
Yeah.
His name is Josh from England, and I just think it's very funny, his content. He can be a little bit over exaggerative just the way he speaks, but I also think that it's funny.
Drive.
Yeah. So basically, he just explains how grand America actually is. Like we have 50 states, and each state
Is its own country.
is its own
It's its own
country.
country.
And then you have Texas,
Yep.
which is like 3 countries, right?
Yep.
And so now, I don't say this to make other countries, and I don't think America stands for that, to make other countries seem
smaller, no.
insignificant.
Yeah.
I think that just shows you how diverse America is, right? Like, you have different dialects in countries, right? In America, you say accents, right?
Right.
But in America, like in Spain, you don't have people in Spain that speak French. Not
Right.
really. You may have like this really
Maybe on
small
the border a little
population.
bit if they commuted.
Yeah, but those are
That's right.
tourists. Here we have Florida, which is like half the Spanish, right? And that's awesome, right? And then in New York you have Chinatown and all this. It just goes
There's
to
a lot
show.
of Italians up there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Italians, like that's where, you know,
And you'll go
There could
to
be
a
a
different
whole lot.
state and you feel like you're in another country because
Yeah.
it's just
Yep.
so different from each
yeah.
other.
it's
I had
so
America is
crazy.
big, and that's exactly what you guys are talking about.
Big, but it's
Um,
not just big. It's
Same.
To your
grand.
point, I know you're not saying, you said like, I'm not saying this to make other people feel minuscule or small,
Yeah.
but I think the vastness of this country is in the American psyche.
Yeah,
right?
because
and it
everything's
cha-
bigger.
Yeah, and we have the ability to travel to that anywhere in that country
Yeah.
unhindered.
And we have
You don't have to
access
stop at all the
food,
borders and
any type of
Like
food.
Show your
we have the
papers
world's
and-
tallest roller coaster. We probably have the world's biggest hot dog. We
yeah,
got everything.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can't go, and when we were in Italy, we can't go like, oh, you want Chinese today? No, we can't. There's no
Right,
Chinese today,
right?
You know, it's like
Exactly.
we have access to everything,
Yeah.
and
Oh.
we take it for granted for
You
sure.
say,
but
yeah,
so
what do you
yeah.
want, Italian? Oh, yeah.
What's the separation of powers or the balance of powers between the states and the federal government?
Well, each state has their own like separate laws.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. Like a lot of countries, laws are just for the entire country. It doesn't matter like where you are.
Yeah.
But like it does matter per state. Like if I get pulled over with weed here, maybe a felony. Pulled over with weed in California, you don't even get a speeding
Yeah.
ticket, bro. Like
Right.
it'd be fine. Like
Very true. And what do you think drives the difference in those laws? What makes this
The people in the
laws
state.
different? The people in the state. And how do the people do that?
Voting.
And
Passing bills.
electing whom? Their
The
congressman?
governor.
Ah, the governor. So every state has a governor. Every state has its own structure. This is very different from other countries. That's why I wanted to go into this, guys. It might seem
But
basic to
people
you,
don't think about that.
but people
Yeah.
don't understand
Like,
it out there. They really don't.
Till like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Not gonna
Yeah.
lie.
So every state has its own governor, which is sort of like the president, where they're also not a king. And they each have either a legislature or a Congress type structure depending on the state. Did you know that? Every state's kind of different.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you think is the difference between a responsibility and a right?
I feel like responsibility, I mean, how I take that is like morals. So like responsibility is like, you know, maybe a bad example, but don't touch kids. Like, bro, like that's like you don't have the right to touch a kid. It's your responsibility to not. Like, but you have the right, you know, like, I don't know, like.
A responsibility to protect them.
Like morals.
You're saying
yeah.
that you have a responsibility to protect the innocent,
Yeah.
and it's not you don't have a right to be able to destroy that.
Yeah.
My dad used to say when it came to voting, I remember when I was just of the age where I was starting to, be 18 and got to vote, and I made some comment about, oh, well, it's my right, so I'm gonna exercise my right not to vote. You hear people say that crap all the time. I said that. And my dad goes, what makes you think it's a right? And he stopped me in my tracks, right? Because I'm like, what? And he said, it's not a right, it's your responsibility. And he said, those are different. Go look it up. And that was really impactful for me, and it
I
made.
said the same thing.
Who did?
My dad said the same
Yeah?
thing. Yeah.
And-
Word for word.
Do you think America has its own unique culture?
I do.
Thanksgiving, 4th of July.
Right.
Yeah.
What are things that are 100% American that don't do anywhere
A
else?
lot of
I
the
think
holidays
of-
that we celebrate.
Our ability to defy,
That's a good one.
I think, is something that's, because if you think of all of our holidays, right? Our biggest national holiday is us giving the middle finger to a tyrannical government, right? The second one to that, Thanksgiving, was our ability to come to another continent, make
Not
a
true,
new-
but yes.
and make a new life for ourselves. And not only that, when you talk about like freedom and liberty and democracy, and we got this when Helldivers 2 got so freaking popular,
What a good
right?
game.
It's like you talk about, I do this for democracy, I do this for liberty. What is the country that pops in everybody's heads?
America.
America.
Of course it does, yeah.
All the
American values.
edits with the screaming eagles and the waving flags, like those are American flags going up. It's not a British flag, it's not a German flag, it's not an Italian flag, it's an American
Well, I
flag.
mean, you have like Scotland.
So that's
Scotland!
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
when you think of liberty, democracy, freedom.
Yeah, I
That's
guess
America.
Sure. Does America have its own unique culture?
I would say so.
Yeah.
I think so too. What do you think, just knee jerk, what makes you think, oh, that's American, that's American culture right there?
I mean, pretty much everything we've been talking about today.
Like freedom.
Like
Do
the
what you want.
pursuit of happiness,
Mhm.
our own cultural, since we're such a diverse country, it's a lot of,
Yeah.
we have a lot of culture, but even someone like me who's like adopted and I have no idea who like my parents, grandparents, where I'm even from, I still have like kind of like the American culture of like, oh, I'm gonna get it, I'm gonna hustle, I'm gonna do what I want, I'm gonna stay in my own lane, and I'm gonna do it good, and that's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm. What about you?
Same thing. Just like diversity in the country, it's like we have so much of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you go to other countries, you'll probably see majority of like one type of person with the same beliefs, at least like religion wise,
Oh, here's another uniquely American thing, and I love this one, and this plays right into what we're talking about. Holidays are secular. Do you know what secular means?
That would suck you in.
It means
That's not the same.
that's very different. Secular is
like one.
like having to do with state rather than religion, like we were talking about church and state, right?
Mm.
So secular means like not religious. It's secular, right? So because of our viewpoint, I think, in America of how we view religion, all of our holidays have become secular. So I don't understand why people have a problem with any of these holidays in America. For instance, what do we celebrate at Christmas in America, specifically American? What's Christmas about?
The birth of Jesus.
Nope.
It's about Santa and presents.
Yes. What else is it about? Strictly American, not the religious stuff that you were taught.
Okay.
Strictly American. What else is
Giving.
Christmas about?
Snow.
Giving,
Family.
snow,
Yeah.
family, a feast,
Elf on the
Trees.
shelf.
Santa, elves, reindeer,
Rudolph.
you know,
Black Santa.
all of those things.
Yeah.
People can say, oh well,
Yeah.
but there's a Christian, history to Santa Claus if they want to be
Yeah.
that way. But in America, that's never what's been celebrated at
Same
school.
with Easter, right?
Same with Easter.
Yeah.
What's American Easter?
A bunny,
And
eggs, candy.
okay,
Ace the
and
basket.
candy,
Yeah.
Easter egg hunt,
Mhm.
and everybody can do it, and it doesn't matter what your religion is,
Yeah.
right?
That is true.
Yes, we commercialize and create secular
Yeah, Halloween too. That's a good one.
things that we can enjoy as all Americans that takes the religious piece out, and then people can go home to their homes and teach those religious pieces to their kids or their family, right? But we make it secular.
It'd
We
be
make
like
it
a cult.
everybody can do it. You're not
Yeah.
you're not coloring a cross. You're coloring a Santa
Yeah.
Claus or a reindeer, right?
Yeah. I never thought about like celebrations that way. How they're not like religion specific.
America's
I
the
thought
only
Jesus
place.
when I thought Christmas, but that's because I was taught that way. But
America's the only place you'll
Really
find
not,
that,
yeah.
right? So this is hilarious to me. Do you remember when they started talking about the Juneteenth and wanting to push it as a holiday that was celebrated more broadly and such? How did corporate commercialized America respond to that?
they were like, great idea.
And what did they do?
All of a sudden,
What did they
everyone
create?
knows about Juneteenth now.
Yep, and what did corporate America create? They started selling Juneteenth ice cream in Walmart, and it was a
Okay.
huge scandal. Do you remember that?
What?
They had. You guys didn't know about that? So
Ice cream.
they made an
What
ice cream.
flavor is that?
Well, they made an ice cream that had these
Fried
particular.
chicken.
No,
Oh my
oh my god.
Watermelon.
No, they made an ice cream that had more,
God.
like certain colors,
Oh my God.
and it said Juneteenth on it. But yeah, they started putting foods out at the deli. They literally did put watermelon out and grape soda
Oh, yeah.
and stuff like that.
That's
and
crazy.
I
people
forgot that
flipped
happened.
out. It hit
Yeah.
the internet. Do you remember?
I remember.
No,
that.
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember that now.
Heard of
So
that.
Yeah, I forgot
they
about
were
that.
but what does America do the best?
It's crazy.
We commercialize your holidays. We make them secular, and we say, what can we put out so everyone can celebrate this the way it's meant to be celebrated?
Yeah.
But people got so butthurt and offended that they put ice cream out and watermelon slices and whatever. But what do they do on the other holidays? What do they put out at Easter?
Eggs.
Deviled
Ham-
eggs.
Ham and shit.
Right? Everything has sort of traditional foods or traditional whatever. Well, the traditional foods of Juneteenth, because it's been something that's been celebrated in a subculture of America, an African American subculture, and they want now everyone to celebrate it, why are you pissed now that people want to have fried chicken and watermelon then? Shouldn't that be celebrated? Rather than saying, oh, but you're being racist for wanting to do what it is we do
It's
on the
just funny
holiday?
that that's the selection.
Well, I feel like it's
Right?
more like just fried chicken and watermelon as itself. Like, why is that the food of like black people?
I know. That's
You know,
pretty funny.
It's because that's the stereotype, and that
It's a stereotype.
like that's what
Yeah.
they went with immediately. Like
Yeah. So
It's- it's
that's why
just
people
fun.
were mad. But the ice cream, I
That's
couldn't figure that one out because
But I didn't even know, like, that wasn't even really like a holiday that everyone even spoke about till like maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe.
well, I think some people in some areas celebrated that, but it's
Like
a
we all knew
subculture
about
thing.
it. We all knew about
It's
it.
a
like, the day.
subculture thing, not a main
But
culture
it wasn't
thing.
like, it wasn't
Yeah.
like it wasn't like a holiday that everyone's like, woo, celebrates. It's like,
I feel
Right.
like personally, it's something we
Like a
should
day.
celebrate. I think it's a cool like message, but don't go any deeper than
I do too.
the last slave was freed. Like that's cool. We should
Yeah.
celebrate that. Like everyone was free from that day on, slavery wise. Like that's sick.
I agree.
They're kind of trying to push it so that it usurps 4th of July, which is a whole different conversation.
Wait, why are people mad at the 4th of July again? Why
Right.
would we get rid of another holiday for...
Like, why can't we just have both? Celebrating
Yeah,
independence.
just
Do you
like
even
that.
know what July 4th is?
No, I don't think
No,
so. That's why.
no, I think a lot of them do not.
They just
That's
think it's like
correct.
America Day or something.
A lot of people don't even know who we fought.
That's
for our independence.
crazy.
That's why I'm glad you keep saying that, Chia. You keep
Yeah.
repeating the British, the British. We got our independence from the British. What does America do the best with all these holidays that we were just talking about? America knows how to commercialize the shit out of everything, right? Yes,
Well,
right? So like,
Capitalism.
okay, and Cinco de Mayo is a good example. Mexico doesn't celebrate Cinco de Mayo, America does, and we
sell
all
more
go out and
goddamn
have.
alcohol and stick it away on
That's
St. Patrick's Day
right.
than we do
Margaritas,
anything.
and, you bring out all your stuff and whatever, right?
Super Bowl Sunday.
As far as the cultural appropriation thing goes, yeah, it's dumb. Because there's a guy, I saw a video of it online, he dressed up in a sombrero and a freaking,
Oh, yeah.
everybody's seen this video, and a freaking poncho, and he had a donkey, right?
Oh, the Dr. Phil one?
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, it was Dr. Phil.
Anybody who is any way sensitive about this stuff would automatically think, okay, bro, you're being
Racist.
super racist right now.
Super, yeah.
But you would ride through like Mexican neighborhoods, right, where they have their shops set up and everything,
They'll be
and
laughing.
everybody would be like, "Oh my God, that's such a great sombrero! I love that freaking your poncho. It's really well made, you know." And they would be so happy that that this person is like obviously, if you're
Yes.
mocking their culture, it's a
Yeah.
different thing. But it's
Right.
like, wow, you're appreciating our culture. Our culture exists. Because for some people, like they think their culture is so small and internal, and
Yeah.
to see somebody from the outside like sharing in it too,
My whole life, people were not offended
Yeah.
by other people sharing cultures or doing things and picking up different cultural bits from each other.
Yeah.
And as a cultural anthropologist myself, and I do go into this in some of the narrative for this particular episode, cultures evolve, cultures clash, cultures come together. America as a cultural melting pot, of course we're going to take bits from each other.
yeah.
But you have this
Everybody
small,
lives here.
You have this small portion of people making a decision about when it's
That think it should
offensive
be
and when it's
segregated.
not.
Yeah.
Or they get to decide, right? Because I don't know if you guys saw that whole photo spread that ASAP Rocky did, where he's wearing like a faux Scottish kilt. It's more like a skirt because they want to make everything and wear everything feminine, right? And so, but it's his whole getup through that whole photo shoot is all faux Scottish. But you never hear anyone go, cultural appropriation, ASAP Rocky,
because it's
you know, but well, you know, your example, people might get all mad because someone's wearing a sombrero. Well, what are we going to do when it's Cinco de Mayo? We're going to freaking wear our sombreros and, you know, say, arriba, abajo. Yeah.
Cinco de Mayo is just an excuse for people to get drunk.
And what about St.
Exactly.
Patrick's?
Like half the, yeah, that's too. An excuse
St.
for people to
Patrick's
get
Day.
drunk.
All of a sudden,
And-
everybody's wearing green and
Right.
leprechaun, but it's a white holiday.
But we're
so it's
all,
fine.
but we're all sharing it, right? You know, what's your take, I guess, on this cultural appropriations perspective of things? And then I'll tell you what I think. Like, what do you think of when you hear that, and what do you think it means?
I think it's a bunch of people who aren't even a part of that culture getting offended for other people. And it's so stupid. This guy on
Yeah.
TikTok went to a college, and all these like white college people, white girls, guys are all like,
Every time, bro. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, bro. Like, say if like a white person has dreads, bro. Like, it would be hard to find a black person that's actually gonna be like, he has dreads, no,
Yeah.
right? But the whole like the white liberals in college specifically,
Yeah.
it always gets their panties in a bunch, bro. I've never said that phrase before in my life, but it does get their panties in a bunch,
Yeah, it
bro.
does, bro.
So you've
I don't know why.
picked a very specific element too of where this is coming from, right? So for your guys' perspective, it's not even Gen Z's and it's not even society at large. It's
Right.
people in these
Yeah.
schools who are hypersensitive and hyper aware, or being
I'd say
made to be
there-
hyper aware of these type of
There is
issues.
Gen Z. One
So-
thing I wanted to say about the whole like cultural appropriation thing, this like
Yes.
white guy was wearing a poncho and a sombrero, and he was going around like Berkeley or something, like you know the college, and was like, does my outfit offend you? And like all those white preppy kids are like, yes it does, it's not cool.
Oh yeah, I've seen
Yeah.
that guy. I've seen that guy with the sombrero.
Yeah, and then he goes over to like some place where a bunch of Mexican people are. He's like, "Does my outfit offend you?" And they're like, "No, it's good. You look good. Like, we like it. Like, keep
We
wearing
like it. Oh, that's
Yeah,
funny.
but then the white kids are, oh no, I think that's gonna offend everyone. Like, you shouldn't do that.
What about when A$AP Rocky did that whole spread with the pseudo kilt and the whole Scottish culture
Yeah, that's
stuff?
like white culture because it's a Scottish thing.
How did that make you feel?
I don't care. I don't care.
Do you
like,
know anyone that got upset and said that's cultural appropriation?
Not at all. But if I
But
wear
that's
a bonnet,
no different
if I wear a
than
bonnet,
that's
not cool.
Stop it.
Well, I think it's interesting how they try and quiet the Native American voice on this subject. 'Cause
Yeah,
I don't know if
uh-huh.
you guys have heard
Oppression?
the Native Americans totally don't believe in cultural appropriation and this being a negative thing. They actually wrote some tribes wrote a strongly worded letter regarding them changing the Washington Redskins
Really?
and getting rid of the
Really?
Redskin
Oh yeah,
name.
to the commanders? Or
They want them to take
Okay.
Redskins back. They feel like they're being erased in the name of politically correctness
Wow.
because the Native Americans do not align with this
Yeah.
viewpoint at all. And they love to share their culture and they want to share their culture and they're happy when people, like in your sombrero
Yeah.
example, if you wanna
Sharing their culture.
share their
Oh my God,
culture and
my culture's
remember
being
it
displayed by
and
other people.
they love that and they love the sharing of that and so all this when they try and speak for them and say you're doing something offensive,
That
the
kinda
Native
reminds
Americans
me.
always try and speak up and they get like censored and stuff. Yeah.
You're too primitive. We have to speak for you.
That kind of reminds me of my Boy Scouting days. What was it? It was what was that like club called? It was
I can't remember.
but it was about the American Indians, and it was a little thing that you can join in and help, keep their culture alive and stuff. And I remember growing up and hearing other moms complaining about it back in California, like, "Oh, that's so horrible! Why would you do that? Oh, that's you're not being appropriate and stuff." But it's it's keeping their history alive. It's showing the dances they would do for for better rain, or after they got done with a hunt, they would thank the animal for its nutrients by dancing with its skull, or it's a skull pelt and other things.
Because they're not advertising this stuff to the world. So
Yeah,
it's like,
And I think intent and context matter, and that's something that's the lie they're trying to take out of being able to identify whether something's racist or mean or negative towards another culture or towards a person. Intent and context definitely matter. Are you doing those rituals from a humble place or from a place of trying to
make fun of. Back to that thing where the guy was going around with the sombrero, right? That was on Dr. Phil, right? And
So I think he also did one about Chinese. He also
Yeah, it
wore,
was China.
He
He
did
wore,
a Chinese get up
a
as
kimono
well, and walked around
Chinatown?
he walked around Chinatown,
Uh-huh.
and everyone
well,
was
it
like,
it looked like
and they were like, "Oh yeah, I like it. I like
But
it."
yeah, so
Gross.
I feel like the people who have nothing to do with that culture are the ones that get offended by it. And in
Right.
a way, it's because of the way that they think of it.
And there was this whole thing
Chinese
for a
New
while
Year.
about braids when cultural appropriation first came out and people were fighting about it. And they're like, oh, everyone took braiding from Africa. And they got absolutely eviscerated because the Vikings have been doing it for as long as there have been Vikings, as the Africans have been doing it as long as there's been Africans.
That's crazy.
So it's not any one culture that holds the cards on braids,
we hold
right?
the keys. Yeah, you don't get that.
Right, you don't get to do that.
I don't think Africa, people in Africa have braids or had braids in the past.
Wow.
Pretty sure their hair is just short.
In Africa?
Yeah.
But they kept
Well, I
their-
think you're thinking of the trends maybe, because now the trend now probably is to just have short hair. But there was different times where different cultures in Africa had,
Braided
when it was very tribal, there was lots of different braids, as there were, you know, the gauges. The gauges come from
Yeah.
African tribe
Yeah,
culture,
yeah.
or like the rings, you know, the neck rings. I don't know if you've seen those,
To
but
stretch your
Yeah,
neck
I've seen
out.
yeah, all the different cultures have had different things, and you know, a lot of them had longer hair with braiding or whatever through history. But so did the Vikings, right?
Yes.
Vikings grow their big beards and have
Braided
braids in their
beards,
beards. You don't generally see Africans with braided beards like you do
Soon.
Vikings, right?
Soon I'll break
So
Yeah, it's like, okay, so what, am I supposed to be offended now that this African American looking woman is dyeing her hair blonde? Like, 'cause that's a Nordic
Right.
thing, you don't really have any blonde black people.
yeah, so where's the line,
Yeah, so
right?
where am I
yet,
supposed to-
yet we're all supposed to be
I'm
able
not-
to be individuals in America and have it be a melting pot,
Yeah.
but we're gonna
Yeah.
get butthurt about stupid little things.
I feel like another thing, at least with our culture or generation, is like if you're in like a stable household, it's like frowned upon. Like, did you notice that?
Bro, people want to have like a freaking depress off, like a
Yeah,
like
literally.
like oh, I had such a worse life than you. No, my life was so much worse.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like the
literally.
victim bowl, like
Yeah,
the loser
yes,
bowl,
yes.
like the victim.
Yeah.
Like
They'd be like,
That should
I'm
be
more
ridiculous,
more
bro.
victim than you. Oh
Yeah.
my god,
It's
you
like,
guys see that
shut
a lot
up.
in your generation?
I mean, look, when I,
It's insane.
it's
Really?
crazy. Like
It's
when I
bad.
posted on TikTok my song Magnum, like everyone in the comments. I mean, people were, you know, I get comments like, "Hold on, this is actually good." It's like, hold on, like what? Like they're like, "Wait, I thought this was gonna be bad. Why? Like, why did you think it was gonna like? Because how I look, or is it?" And then I had people saying like, the hate comments that I would get on that post specifically was like another white suburban rapper like lying in his lyrics. Like, bro, why does that matter? Like, I'm not claiming to be about it just because I rap about it. Like, I'm gonna say right now, I'm not about that shit. Like, I don't have a gun. I'm not running around fucking shooting people. But if I say it in my song, it's just a song, bro. Like, nothing else to it. Lil Tecca says that shit on an interview. He's like, he had a song where he's like talking about cars. He's like, I don't even have my license. I can't even drive. But they said it was funny. But then when I'm like, I'm not doing that shit, they're like, oh, well, you shouldn't rap about it. Like,
Why?
Why not? Like,
yeah.
it's just fun. Like,
Why is there limits on your speech
Yeah.
or your imagination
And like, what is?
based on your
What
color,
does that have to do with
or
the
or
music?
based on whether or not you're in a gang?
I
Like,
just want to know what it has to do with the
you
music.
can't rap if you're not in a gang.
Yeah, and like a
That's-
lot of underground rappers, like black and white, if they're from a nice household, they'll be like, oh, well, he shouldn't be rapping about that stuff. But it's like, I don't know. I just think, I don't understand that. Like, what is he supposed to rap about? Well, my street's hella nice. I live in a calm neighborhood. Like, no one's gonna listen to that. Like,
That's funny.
I don't know. Like, that's just something I noticed with our generation. Like, they like, I don't know.
Oh no, like the victim off is crazy.
It's really controlling, I think,
Yeah.
a lot. You
Yeah.
guys, you know, we were kind of talking about that cult. The cult mentality puts people in silos and buckets, is controlling, right? It puts you in this bucket and it keeps you there. So you can't talk about that because you're not running around being a total gangster, you know. So you can't even talk about it. To your
But that-
point, right?
but then
Like,
it's the same people talking about we need to stop the violence. Bro,
right.
so I can't rap about violent stuff, but that's because I don't do the violent stuff. But you don't want people to do violent stuff. That doesn't make sense. Like,
And I promise
I don't
you,
know.
if a black dude came out and had the most beautiful voice, like an angel, beautiful country voice ever, and sang country music, I don't think there'd be a whole bunch of people hating on him saying, you can't sing that, you're not white.
that'd be
You're not a
crazy.
white redneck.
That'd be
Right?
insane.
Like,
nah, but the black people would be hating on him. I'm not gonna lie.
really?
Oh my god.
They would, yeah.
They would call
Yeah,
him.
they'd
They
be on
would
his
call
ass.
him something I probably can't say. Something else I probably can't say. They call him Uncle Ruckus.
Uncle Tom, I think is
Oh,
the
what,
term,
from
isn't it?
Boondocks? Is that what you're talking about?
Uncle,
Yeah.
oh, there's another
Yeah.
term I'm not
Yeah.
aware of?
No, technically it's Uncle Tom, but there's
Oh.
this character off the show called the Boondocks
Bro.
who's black and just believes that he's not black and he's the most racist person
Bro,
Yeah.
ever. He's top tier.
he's up there.
But how racist is that? to get so upset about somebody just because
Like it's just
Oh, yeah,
music.
no,
they have a certain skin color and you don't want them in your idea of the world to do what it is they're doing. That is the definition of being a racist,
Yeah.
right? So
it's very hypocritical.
yeah, that's
it's just
crazy.
it's just weird.
But hey, maybe they wouldn't hate on him, but they would definitely clown on him.
They would be laughing at him.
Oh, it would be bad.
He wouldn't get taken seriously.
Yeah.
But
no,
see,
not
that's
at
too
all.
bad because, I don't think anyone with any kind of talent should ever be told what they can and can't do with that. It's a form of art.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
no, 100%.
And art, you can do anything with art. Someone can throw one splash of red paint on a wall, call it art, and sell it for $1 million and be like, look at how awesome I am, right? And maybe for people who are into that, that's true. And if they're willing to pay $1 million, more power to you, right? I don't behoove anybody any of that. But who are you to tell somebody else what they can and can't do with their creativity?
Yeah.
Regardless of what color or sexual orientation or any of that, right? Art's art, man, period,
Yeah.
and music is art. Although we have the same traditions and a lot of the same things that we do them differently. So word usage, like you guys were already talking about, slang, big one. Slang was different. Every time we moved, we had to learn the new slang with the kids in the school and whatever. But did you know hopscotch is different depending on where you live? The way you draw hopscotch.
There was like 3 different types of hopscotch that I've played.
Yeah.
I can't remember any.
Depending on where you live, depends on how you draw it, right?
It's
and
like-
how you do it.
Another thing is
But it's all hopscotch,
Mhm.
right? So there's a lot of variation, but it's the same thing, but it's, well,
one thing I noticed is pool. Like,
pool,
That's
okay?
that's different out here than
Billiards.
California. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when we came out here, we played this place we
Rules
go
are
to,
different.
pop culture. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I went to hit the 8-ball in, and I scratched, and they're like, "You lost," and I was like, "What?" Because where I'm from, like that's not how it works. If I hit the
Pull
8-ball
up.
in, and I scratch, then I lose.
Oh.
But if I
okay.
scratch, then you just get to go. You take the ball; it's just free ball.
Or I've also seen where you take the ball and you have to take one of your balls back out, like if you
yeah,
scratch.
yeah,
Yeah,
So, I don't know if
Me too.
that's different rules of the games, but you guys are talking about like from a bar setting where the local people have a standard set of rules that they play by.
Yeah.
And that definitely is a cultural, regional difference. That's very interesting. And then songs. Are songs regional?
Yeah.
Even rap. You were talking about rap.
Yeah.
West Coast rap's
Yeah,
not the
there's
same as
Detroit
East
rap.
Coast
Not
rap.
at all.
Not
West
the
Coast
same.
rap,
Not the same as
Florida
Florida.
rappers,
No. I saw. I
Right.
showed
New York drill.
I
The
would-
sound,
I make
the
song,
words, the cadences, it's all different.
flows.
Yeah, and then cultural regional references that might be in the songs as well,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
I showed Geo6, one of our friends, about I just showed him like West Coast songs like Mike Sherm, like EBK, like those types of people out there in the West Coast. He's like, I see why your music sounds like that now. And he was like, I always wondered why you sound like that, because it doesn't sound like something from Florida, like at least the songs I was making at the time didn't. But
Oh, that's
it
interesting.
was funny. He was like, this makes so much more sense.
Yeah,
He had like all revelation because I showed him that.
that's
He
funny.
didn't even know about that sound either. Like,
That's funny.
yeah.
And food, I had food down. We've talked about food a little bit.
Definitely.
But
That's a big thing.
okay,
Louisiana.
yeah, moving out here, grits. Okay, my grandma always made the southern foods and stuff, and my mom introduced me to a lot of that. And so when we came here, there was certain things that I loved that they would make that you just can't find on the West Coast. Grits is grits are gross out there if you can even find them. Out here they're
Oh,
awesome. A tomato slice with breakfast, very common out here. My grandma used
Yeah.
to do that. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen things where I'm like, hey, that's where that came from, and a lot of these different foods, just basic foods.
Like the Philly. It's called
Yeah.
Philly because it's from Philly.
Right.
Stuff like that.
Cheesesteak.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all of those are American.
Philadelphia.
Everything we just said are all American foods, all American habits.
Yeah.
Right, so let's see. Oh, the other thing I noticed that was different is social norms. What did you notice when you first moved to Florida
It was just like
that was
how
different?
people act. Like, I mean,
Yes.
Oh my lord, oh my lord.
How they
it's
act.
so
I got a good
different.
one.
Okay.
Compared to up north, here we're a lot more hospitable. Like in Florida, whenever I moved to Pensacola, Florida, waving at all my neighbors, them waving at me back. It doesn't matter what color you are. Everyone's hospitable, very
Yes.
nice and welcome. I go up to visit my grandmother in Baltimore, bro. It just like feels all cold and mean all of a sudden. Bro. No
Yeah,
one's
bro.
waving at me. I'm like 10 years
Yeah.
old, just trying to be nice and
Literally.
stuff. They're just looking at me. It's like,
Yeah.
It's so different. Like if I walk up to someone in California and ask them, like for anything, like if you even ask how your day is, they're gonna look at you and be like what are you trying to rob me? Like they're gonna think something crazy. They're not just gonna be like, oh good, bro, how's your day? Like not the same. Out here my friend Josiah came down from California out here to Florida and he went on a run, like a little morning stroll, like 6 a.m. It's funny, I don't know why he did that.
yeah,
but
I was about to say, he's insane for
yeah, I have no idea why he did that, but he showed up. It was like 8 a.m. and he shows up in my room and he's like, bro, someone just said good morning to me while I was on a run. And he was like, they were saying, how's your day? And like, waving at me, like, what's up with people? And I was like, bro, that's how people are out here. Like, in California, like, night and day. Like, he
But they
mentioned it,
they also pause to hear the answer.
yeah.
It's not just like a robotic good morning.
Yeah.
You know, and they don't even care if you answer back because they don't give a fuck. And they're not really saying it for that reason. They go, good morning. And if you don't say something back, you're rude. They get mad. Like, what is
Yeah.
wrong with you? They're looking at you. They say good morning, right?
Yeah.
And they expect an interaction back.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah.
Love that. I think if we had more of that throughout the rest of the country, it would be a much healthier place.
Yeah.
Thank you all for watching. One thing I found very exciting about doing this show is getting to hear the thoughts from Gen Z. There's so much commotion and instability that is swirled around your generation, and so much intense argument about what your future should look like, but no one seems to be asking you. I wanted to remedy that. This show is all about how these things are impacting you, what do you really think, and what do you really feel about it. Next week, we will talk about the cult of Ibram Kendi and where all this woke ideology is coming from. If you have any ideas for future shows, feel free to message me at media@genzamerica.com. That's media, MEDIA, at GenZamerica, GenZamerica.com. This show is for you and about you. So I would love to cover any subjects you'd like to watch. Don't forget to watch all of the basics. This is to help you have the same foundation for the discussion so we don't waste time needing to repeat ourselves over and over. We can get down to the deeper, more compelling discussion and find a way forward to build the future you want, to make Gen Z's America. See you next week.